In the prior section, we built an inline template for a component. We used the template property to find the template directly in the component's metadata. But this is not the only way to create a component's template. For our new component, we can use the template property and define an inline template using a simple quoted string with single or double quotes. Or we can define an inline template with a multi-line string by enclosing the HTML in ES 2015 backticks. The backticks allow composing a string over several lines. This makes the HTML much more readable. We used this technique to build our template in the last section. There are some advantages to defining an inline template. Most importantly, the template is directly defined within the component and keeps the view and the code for that view in one file. It is then easy to match up our data bindings with the class properties, such as the page title in this example. However, there are disadvantages as well. When defining the HTML in a string, most development tools don't provide IntelliSense, automatic formatting, or syntax checking, especially as we write more and more HTML into the template. These issues can become problematic. In many cases, a better approach is to define a linked template with the HTML in a separate file. The template URL property can then be used in the component metadata to articulate the URL of the HTML file, i.e., its location. We can use this technique to build a linked template for an event list view. This is the final event list view we want to produce. It includes a pronounced heading, a search box which allows the user to enter a search string. Then the user-entered search string is displayed below the search heading, and the list of events is filtered down to only those with an event name containing that string. The events are listed in an orderly table with a formatted header. The Show Image button shows an image for each event. The event name is a link that links to a view that displays an event's details. We'll build this detail view later on in the course. The page is created with the Twitter Bootstrap styling framework to give it a nice, clean look. Experience with this framework isn't required if you're using the course's starter files. It is already installed via npm and the original package.json file. Everything necessary is already included to render the page nicely. If you want to find out more about the Twitter Bootstrap styling framework, check out this link and review the user guide and API. We'll move on now and code up the template for our event list view. Please have your IDE ready to go and follow the instructions in the code along. When we last saw our course project, we had completed the app component. At this point, we want to add an external template for the event list component. By convention, each feature of the application has its own folder under the Apps folder. So let's add a new folder here and name it Events. In that folder, we will create the template for our event list component. Again, by convention, the name of the template is the same name as the component with an HTML extension. We can call our event list component event-list.component.html. We can now create the HTML for the template. We should start with the heading. We can use Twitter Bootstrap style classes to display the content in a panel and display the heading as the panel heading. In the heading, we display event list. Let's focus on the search by stuff now. We can define an input box for entry of the search string, and we add text that displays the user-entered search string. Twitter Bootstrap style classes are used again to lay out the input box and text into rows. We can now build the table. We can do this easily with Twitter Bootstrap table style classes. First, let's code the table header. The first column in the header is a button to show the event's image. The table body is below the table header close tag. We certainly shouldn't hard code the events here, so let's just leave the table body empty for now. At this point, we have the start of a template defined in our component. We now need to build the actual component that will associate with this slick template.